Well, honestly, I when it's an urgent case and I was supposed to honor a work commitment, but that my partner cannot pick up the our kid because he's sick at the daycare. Honestly, I do not feel guilty by telling my colleagues, work relationship that I need to leave for my kid, and they are very much always understanding. I mean, of course, I don't know what goes through their mind, but I have yet to see someone who was openly disappointed by me or anyone telling them that they cannot honor a work commitment because they have to pick their kids who is sick from the daycare.
Hello, community. Today's guest is Sylvain Mossou, a professional with over 10 years of experience in the human rights sector. His steady career has led him to the position of Head of Advocacy of EuroMed Rights, where he manages a team of 2 people. On his curriculum, we can find names such as the UN, Human Rights Watch, the European Parliament, CARE International, Quaker Council for European Affairs, and more. Sylvain has recently become a father and is interested in psychology and personal development. Son of a Belgian mother and a Gabonese father, Sylvain was born in Belgium but raised in Gabon up until his 17th birthday. In this episode, we will hear about the challenges he faces after achieving the top position in his area, the experience of navigating the working world as a biracial man, and his views on fatherhood, as he has recently become one. We will also get to know his experience and opinion on diversity and inclusion. Hi, Sylvain, and very welcome.
Good morning, Sophia.
Thank you for this.
You're welcome. It has been a long time, at least 10 years. No, not 10 years, but almost.
Indeed, almost 10 years without seeing each other, without speaking to each other. It's too long. It's too long.
No, 2016. Yeah. And where do you live in Portugal, right?
Now I'm in Portugal. I'm in Lisbon. A lot has changed, it's true, but but it's good to see you. and I know
Likewise.
And I know that also from your side, a lot has changed, not only in your professional career, but also in your personal life. But I've noticed that when it comes to professional career or path, you have accomplished a lot. And to be honest, I want to know everything.
I will try. I believe that I want to accomplish more, but it's really kind of you to tell me that I have accomplished a lot.
So, and speaking of that, that is a question that I always ask to our guests. That is how they see and describe themselves as professionals. And to you, it's quite special because even though we did work at the same place for a while, we never really talked about it. So nowadays, and with all the experiences that you had so far, how do you see yourself as a professional?
And that is a very good question because I've been working on trying to get more clarity on that question myself lately. And maybe we'll come to that later. But if I had to describe myself as a professional, I would say that I would use maybe 2 values that I realize that I hold dear to myself. The first one would be maybe effectiveness, and by effectiveness I mean I would like to get results that matters, or at least that are meaningful in my work. And the second one is collaboration, which more or less the vehicle through which I'm trying to get results. Or maybe if I have to sum it up in a way that it's nicer for your listeners, I would say that I strongly believe in the quote that says, "If you want to go fast, go alone, but if you want to go far, go together." And that's a quote that I very much enjoy. Also, another one that resembles, for those of you who likes a little bit more, sports like basketball. I think it was from Michael Jordan who said, "Talent wins games, but only teamwork wins championships." And I very much want to reflect that in my work. And those are the two main things: effectiveness and being collaborative in trying to achieve results. And but lately, I've been told that I tend to take work too seriously. That work is just work, and life is broader than that. But I guess to a certain extent, you everyone spends a lot of time at work, at least 8 hours a day. And if you take out the time that you sleep, you basically are awake for 17 hours. So half of your waking time is work. So while I understand that you should not uh, live your life through your work, to me it's a little bit dangerous to underestimate the importance of work in your life, because at the end of the day, if you add all the hours per day, per week, per year, after 20, 30, 40 years, that's quite a lot. So that's basically who I am. I'm a professional. I can I'm very much serious in my work, try to get results and work with people. That's the part that I enjoy the most in my work.
And it's good to hear that. But also as a former colleague of yours, the image that I have of you is that you were very professional by the time, very concerned about doing a good job. But at the same time, I remember you as someone very pleasant to be around. You would, I remember the jokes. I remember that you would always try to find a funny time or make the situation a bit more funny, more relaxed. At least that's the image that I have of you in 2016. But yeah, but in a way, while we were colleagues, we were in different departments. You in the advocacy, myself in the communications, and I really think that I'm not or I wasn't, and I'm still not aware of what an advocacy professional does. So I think this is a great opportunity to ask you, what does an advocacy professional do?
True, and but it is quite similar to communication in a way, because advocacy is influencing. It is a process by which you are going to try to influence someone, a group of people, but that group of people on advocacy is decision makers, and you try to influence them towards a viewpoint, on specific policies, on specific actions that you would like them to take. So otherwise put, it's like communication. Communication, you try to sell something to someone in a way. And to me, advocacy is exactly the same. It's about selling a viewpoint, a solution to the decision makers. And for example, in my work, I have my colleagues who work on the content. And based on the content that they produce, we identify uh, who, when, and how they should speak and release that content, so it has the maximum impact. So it's really just about that advocacy. It's about influencing. So it's really extremely connected to communication. So much so that in my organization, we are in the same department, advocacy and communication. So it's not that different. It's just more specifically, it's or otherwise put, it's also like lobbying. It's you try to influence decision makers, so you communicate with them.
That's a good way to put it, and it made sense to me. I think you
Mhm.
could summarize it in a good way, so thank you for that. Yeah, as I said in the introduction, you have built a very steady, but at the same time, sure professional path, because you have become like you're now the head of advocacy, right?
Mhm.
So this steady and sure a professional growth culminated with you becoming the head of advocacy. And I find that you are still a young person, and
I
by
hope
having
so.
you are and with that, I wonder what's next to you, because I remember that by the time that we started, we were very ambitious. We all wanted to grow fast, and but now you got to the top. So what's next to you? How does it feel to you?
Well, it is true that my journey, professional journey, has been very coherent from the internship that I did as an advocacy trainee to where I am right now. I I guess the I'm very much reflecting on what I want to do next, because the organization that I'm working in, the structure and the culture, does not really match with some of my ambition and core values. The position that I have is one that I very much like, but it doesn't meet all the criteria that would make that would allow me to fully deploy what I believe could be my potential. And as an individual, I have embarked on a therapeutic journey, which started a year ago, and I have come to realize that I have kept parts of me confined, and they are trying to express themselves. And as a result, I'm in this transition phase where I'm trying to guess what's next. And I believe that what I would enjoy for sure is to be able to manage people. So yes, I do manage two people, but I would enjoy to do so at a higher level to help an organization function better. That's something that so far is on my mind. But since I'm in the process of reflecting exactly what it would look like in practice, I'm sometimes at least I feel lost a little bit, like as if you were leaving your zone of comfort and realizing that there is a lot out there and that you need to walk to find your path, to explore, and to at the same time discover things about yourself. I'm very much in that process, but at least I know what I don't want, more or less. But I don't know exactly what I want. I know I have an idea, but so that's the path that I'm on.
And I find that it's a very interesting path because, for what I could understand, you are more into this path of self discovering yourself,
Hmm.
which is, I find that it's beautiful. And I think it makes sense to be right now because, as you said previously, we spend so much time at work. Most of our day it's about work,
Hmm.
and few time we have if we consider social life, if we consider other aspects of our personal life. um, I would say that few time we have left for reflection
True.
and for exploration when it comes to ourselves. And I think this is something that we manage to do once we start growing up, and once
Hmm.
our career also starts to evolve, and we kind of feel that we kind of have this space to reflect a bit more and see what's next. So I find very beautiful. I can see you actually managing people, like a big team or big group, because for what I've know about yourself, not only you are someone that can find the lighter things of the situation and try to show people, okay, this is not that bad. This is not that bad as you're
Hmm.
thinking. So I can see you in that role in a way. I do, but also I know that that's the thing you before said that people think that you dedicate a lot of time to your work, you take your work very serious. I
Hmm.
don't I don't know because the image that I had was completely different, but I also know that you have become a father recently.
Yes.
I'm very happy for that,
Thank
but
you.
I'm I'm not a mom yet, so to me, of course, I get very curious on that because it's just like, okay, how is this new journey of your life? Because it's just like, okay, not only you have your partner, but you have your kid. How you guys do it to make sure that you keep ensuring this professional life, this personal life, and now this spectrum in which you have someone that totally depends on you? How you manage to work life balance?
No, but thank you, Sophia. Look, I when you become a parent, it is true that you end up having to look after another human being that is going to be very much dependent on you for the next 25 years at least, and emotionally forever. And it is life changing, and I guess you need to rebalance your priorities, because the kid is there and he needs to be looked after, and that's where you decide whether it will be one person who will do most of the job, or that you will try to balance it. And that will depend from relationship to relationship, or sometimes to people's views on raising a child. It is true that it's quite conventional that that role ends up on the mother's shoulders. But I believe that fathers, or the partner, is equally responsible for raising the child that is not there. At least as a father, I when my kid arrived, I I wanted to be an equal partner and not be there to support my partner in raising my child. And I think it's a great responsibility to take, and it is a necessary one, because a child would benefit from having both parents looking after. In that very traditional view, at least he would have the mother's perspective and the father perspective. And there are some uh, relationship who decided to prioritize, where the father would prioritize maybe his career, sometimes to the detriment of spending time with the family. And that's a choice that people are free to make, but it has consequences. And since in my case I want to both have a career and be there for my kid, it's a constant daily balancing act when you try uh, to to make time for your kid. And sometimes it's not really that you try to make time, it's that you have to pick him up, you have to look after him because he's sick. But try then to rebalance the time for your work, and it's a really it's a constant daily challenge that I've been experiencing. uh, but I know that every time that I look at my kid, I want to be able to be part of his education and know that I'm going to be there. And I would try to to use the rest of my time, or to balance my time so I can still have my career. Because I think at the end of the day, you I would regret not spending time with my kid. I would regret that more than having a career. I feel that, but since I want to do both, I'm trying to balance that on a daily basis. And I also believe that it's not just for me; it's also fair to my partner, who would like to have time for herself to work on her career. And at least by me also being present, I give her that opportunity. And by her being present, she gives me that opportunity to also keep working on my career. And but honestly, it's very from relationship to relationship, to how you view life, to how you want to raise your kid. But I do believe that a kid needs both parents, that because being a single mother or a single father, or it's very difficult. Honestly, it takes so much of your time and energy, and that you at least need two people to look after a child. And it will and it would be more than beneficial to the child to have both parents together.
It makes a lot of sense what you're saying to me, but of course, that I don't know. On your, you said that it's a constant challenge
Mhm.
in your daily day, but how do you do to manage it? For instance, how do you do, for instance, to say, okay, today I have to pick him up,
Mhm.
and at this time, at this specific time, and I have to make it. How do you do? How do you balance your working commitments with that, for instance?
Well, then, if I know I have to pick him up at 4, I set up my agenda in a way that I can do the work that I have to do and make sure that I'm going to be able to pick him up at 4. But if for some reasons I have a work commitment that is difficult to avoid, then I would have negotiated that with my partner to see whether she can pick him up, and then I can uh, finish working. And then when I arrive, then it will be my turn to look after him and to spend time with him. So she has time to do other things if she needs to. So it's I guess it's that's where you realize that you need to manage your time as much as you can, and to try to schedule things. Of course, it does not always go as you predicted. For example, when the day is doing fine and that you have everything that is lined up, and then the daily care calls you and that you have to pick your kid, then if you have a work commitment, you try to sort this out with your partner. But most of the time, I try to schedule my day in such a way that unless it's very urgent, I can still be there for my child if he needs me. But that's why it's very helpful to have two people, and even better if you have family around. Because I have to say, we are lucky enough that I have my mother here, quite next to me, and her parents. So it makes life easier, honestly, because when you don't have that, it's an added struggle. So we are in a very comfortable situation because we do have support around, but it doesn't take away the challenge of planning things out. But in practically speaking, you basically need to look at your agenda and try to sometimes work earlier, or sometimes when you enjoy going to the gym like I do, I go to the gym at 6:30 instead of doing going after work, because I do want to be there at home so I can be with my child. So you need to adjust your choice and your priorities so that you have time for your child, because he's there. And at least I believe that parents, especially father, needs to take responsibility and not uh, look at their child and believe it's somehow the mother's responsibility. It's no, it is yours. As far as I know, you decided to have it, or at least you agreed. Now it needs to be looked after and to be raised as a proper future um, well functioning member of the society. And that's your role as a parent. Yeah, of course, school helps, but it is the first primary duty and responsibility of a parent is to raise your child. So it will be someone that people would enjoy having around, and that it would over time contribute to his family, society, and then maybe even broader than that, to his country or the world, etc. But it's challenging on a daily basis, but it's also beautiful responsibility.
Hello, community. How are you finding this episode so far? Did you know that Color at Work is available on all podcast platforms? It's also on Instagram, and recently we were challenged to be on TikTok. So you can follow us from your favorite podcast platform and find us on Instagram and TikTok through Color at Work Podcast. I can't wait to hear your comments and your feedback, and in this way, build a space for us. Hope to find you there. It's very interesting to hear you speaking on that, because not only you talked about teamwork, because it seems like you and your partner, you work in on a teamwork basis. You see her more as a member of your team on this, and I can feel that there is a lot of respect for her time, for her availability as well. And then you mentioned something that I also find interesting, that is your support system. Both your parents can help on not only to be present in your kid's life, but also to help you guys, you and your partner, um, making life easier, working with your agendas. So I think it's very interesting to hear that. And again, especially coming from a male perspective, I think it's very, very interesting. And I don't know, sometimes how it is, for instance, at work, to have to say no to an appointment, or to have to decline, or to postpone, or to propose a new time for instance, a meeting or something, because you know that you won't be able to do it due to your child. Or to have you mentioned that, or you just say that it's like a personal commitment that you have, and unfortunately you won't be able to attend this meeting or something like that.
Well, honestly, I when it's an urgent case and I was supposed to honor a work commitment, but that my partner cannot pick up the our kid because he's sick at the daycare. Honestly, I do not feel guilty by telling my colleagues or work relationship that I need to leave for my kid, and they are very much always understanding. I mean, of course, I don't know what goes through their mind, but I have yet to see someone who was openly disappointed by me or anyone telling them that they cannot honor a work commitment because they have to pick their kids who is sick from the daycare. Honestly, I think it has always worked. Fortunately, it does not happen often, so it's that because it does not happen often, people are more than understanding. And again, if you have a partner that you work together to raise your kid, and that on top of that you are lucky enough to have a support system, it makes things very easy, or very easy, at least easier, because also as the kid grows, it becomes easier for the grandparents to look after the kid, because when he's very young it's always a bit challenging, but then they can pick him up later on. I mean, it has not happened yet, but they would be able to pick him up at school and to look after him for the afternoon, or maybe to pick him up when he's sick. So for that, honestly, a support system is very useful and makes life way way easier. So I do admire single parents. Unfortunately, that's a lot of them are mothers, but I do admire the capacity for single mothers to, in a society that is not always easy for women, to be able to raise a kid and try to have a career, or to go to work every day. It's very admirable because it takes so much energy that by yourself without support, it's almost inhuman for me.
That's why we have the saying that we need a village to raise a child, right?
That is true. Honestly, you need a village. At least with a village, it's you look at it very positively. But for example, to me, it's maybe because I want also to have a career and to be able to have time for myself, to travel. Maybe that's one of the reasons why I am strongly, or let's say I'm very unlikely to want a second child, because I'm afraid that having a second child would tilt the balance too much towards taking responsibility and being there for the family, but so much so that is going to possibly make me resentful or frustrated by not having the time to dedicate to my career or to myself, because kids need attention, they need time, and when you have one you can feel the difference. The more you have, the more time you need, or at least the more challenges it adds. Um, and I know it's possible, you can adapt, but you always adapt by shifting your priorities or taking time away from something else, always. And at least to me, I think one is enough. I may change my mind, but it's something that you need to consider, because you might not go from 100 to 200% when you have two kids, but you certainly go from 100% to 150 or 160, and that's still a lot. And if you're not ready for that, it's a recipe for disaster for yourself, for the kids, and for your relationship. And that's why sometimes people end up having to break up, because they have not managed to deal with the new situation of having one kid or two kids or sometimes three kids. Because yeah, it's those are little cute creature, but that do require your time, because they cannot function without you, at least for the next 20 years.
It's very interesting because now you made me think. I could see that there is a lot of reflection from your side, a lot of honesty as well when it comes to, okay, do I really want, like, you really think ahead and you try to balance out the consequences that having a second child might bring to the table, and see if it's something that you really want to do or not. And it seems at least that there is a lot of honesty from your side in your, just like, in your wishes, what you want, what you might lose, and how you want to actually to be present, like the level of energy that you want to put in each commitment of your life, especially when it comes to your personal life. So I think it's that I can see a lot of responsibility, a lot of honesty as well, and clarity. And I think those are great ingredients to help a parent to do a good job, or at least to not do a bad job, because people also say that there's not a manual on how to be a parent. So you learn by doing, and of course mistakes are guaranteed, but at least I think you are, the way you think and the way you're trying to verbalize you and honor your wishes and commitments, it's already a good thing. But again, I'm not a parent. I'm just someone that it's very curious to know how it is to be a parent.
Well,
So thank
well,
you.
life changing, honestly. As I always joke, um, you can separate yourself from your partner. If you buy a house, you can sell it. But when you have a kid, it's difficult to separate yourself from your kid, let alone sell it. So it's a commitment that you, honestly, I don't see something that is more meaningful or more, that adds such a level of responsibility than having a kid. Honestly, there is nothing comparable. Maybe uh, not even maybe head of government or prime minister, or it's a lot, but it's just that you are very much responsible for a human being that looks up to you, and that, and his character is not going to be entirely shaped based of your education, but is going to be very much influenced by it. So the condition that is you're going to put for your kid, the principles that you're going to try to teach him or her, or the actions that is going to see you doing on a daily basis, is going to heavily impact um, his life or her life. And I guess you know better than me, or I'm sure that you we all know how parents can have a huge have had a huge impact of our on our life until today. And I see that everywhere. So I mean, it's really something that you cannot that you should not underestimate. It's but yeah, it's challenging, and that's why, because it's challenging, that's why when you have help for your partner, that you work together and that you have a support system, that's honestly, it's makes things way easier.
It's great to hear that. It's great. But do you find that you had to find new strategies to work on your balance, or that there were some strategies that you were already putting in place that are very useful now? If I wanted to ask advice to you, what would you say?
I would say you have to be really determined in terms of controlling your agenda, your time. So, for example, if you need time for yourself, you need to put it in your agenda so you can keep it for yourself and try to make sure that nothing, well, except emergency, that nothing messes with that. But it's a practical strategy would be to honestly the agenda. It's something as I mean, you all probably everyone does that for work, but it's really trying to say, okay, this day I need to look after the kid, but maybe when he's sleeping, then I have 2 hours for myself. If you're by yourself because your partner is out or somewhere else, then that it's easier to negotiate. But if the partner is there, maybe you need to negotiate whether you have an hour with your partner and then an hour just for yourself to work on yourself to maybe to indulge in some of the pleasure that you have, reading or painting or other stuff. So it's really trying to deliberately manage your agenda so it reflects the kind of life that you want to have. But it's, as you can imagine, complicated. It's already complicated at work. So when you add work plus personal life plus having to look after family and maintaining a partnership, you can imagine that the agenda that you set for the next week or the next 2 weeks or 3 weeks is not always exactly going to be the same. But I think it's really important to keep time for yourself, your partner, and then you as a family.
It's interesting, you know, it's really interesting to hear that because I, well, my understanding of what you said is that
Mm-hmm.
you always try to be very participative. I would say you try to
Mm-hmm.
participate
True.
and to cooperate with your partner when it comes to your baby's
True.
education, your baby's time. And it's interesting, especially for me as a woman, hearing that. And that also this is in your mind when it comes to planning your week, not only your professional week, but your personal week. All these tasks, I will put like tasks in brackets,
Mm-hmm.
are in mind. So you have that in mind. And when you call your partner is not just my girlfriend, my wife, or the mother of my kid, is my
Mm-hmm.
partner always, also when it comes to raising our baby, to spend time with it, to
True.
so it's very interesting.
No, you're right. It needs to be at least. It's my way of managing my life, professional and personal. But it is true that some people choose to maybe or decide to be less present for their family, or maybe decide to be less involved in their work. And it has consequences in terms of work. Maybe some people lost, or it's not that they lose their ambition, but they simply decide not. They have adjusted to the new reality and they believe that the priority is more family and then work. Others try to do the reverse with the consequences that come with it. And most, or at least some other people, try to balance it. But as you can imagine, the balance is rarely 50-50. So you are always in between trying, at least in my case, I'm always in between. I need time. I want to evolve professionally. I want also to discover myself and need to balance that with, but I need to maintain a partnership. So just with my partner and then also spend time with my kids. So it's really those three, it's even four dimension. It's personal, professional, partnership, father. Yeah, so it's a four dimension that I'm trying to jungle with on a daily, weekly, yearly basis.
It's great to hear that. It's great. And to see that it's working also. It's working out for you and for your family. I don't want to change topics, but while you were talking, I was also thinking about what you said before, that the work that you do in as an advocacy professional is
Hmm.
also to influence people. And knowing that you worked always in associations that in somehow were linked with human rights,
Hmm.
that had that purpose, I can imagine that the environment, it's very inclusive, right? It's very respectful. And this makes me wonder, have you ever felt that expressing your identity was or has ever been an issue when at work? because those are places that advocate for the human condition.
Hmm.
And you are a biracial man. You have, in my perspective, a very rich cultural background and aspects of your identity that speak for themselves, right? That speaks about that cultural heritage of yours. So,
Hmm.
how it has been for you to navigate the working world with such a rich heritage?
I guess in my case, at least the kind of work environment that I'm evolving in, the my identity, the fact of being biracial, has never been a topic in the workplace. At least to my knowledge, I've never really felt that it was bad. So, to the contrary, I was under the impression that sometimes it was actually it was seen as beneficial, or maybe seen positively, like they were assuming, and maybe rightly so, that be having being biracial or having different culture should, in theory, bring you open-mindedness. And because of that, they would welcome, because I work in the sort of environment, human rights, respect for the individual, equality, and so on. So it's supposed to promote diversity, and it's something that I have always seen in the different work environment that I have been with. The only the only thing that I saw is that while they promote diversity, it is not always reflected in the staff. I'm not sure that it is done on purpose, but what is clear is that they do not actively seek to reflect this diversity value in their work, but they do value it, or at least when you are different, they it's not a problem. They see it positively, but I don't think they make enough effort to reflect it in the staff. And for example, in the in the non-government organization that I'm working with, it's more than okay, because we have people with different background, not only nationality, but they have a different sexual orientation, and of course they come from different. We have different nationality outside Europe. They have from North Africa, from Lebanon, so it's a good mix. But in other organizations, it's still a little bit too much homogeneous, even though they would welcome diversity. But I guess they have yet to translate that into the recruitment process in terms of trying to actually diversify the your staff. And I'm not even just talking about people of color. I'm also talking about diversity in terms of talent, in terms of perspective or culture. So it's in some organization they could do more to actually promote that.
Yeah, yeah, and you're making me think because you thought no you basically touched in some very interesting points here, especially when it comes to see that diversity reflected into your colleagues, into the people that work in the organization, and when it comes to the recruitment process, right? Because I think that if it's an organization that it's truly committed with that, the recruitment process also needs to have that in the agenda as one of the criterias. And hearing that, it's very interesting. I had a conversation. The hiring manager would like for this position to have a woman hired because he feels that the team, it's really male. It's composed by lots of men, and he just wanted to see it a bit more diverse. And I was just like, okay, this is a conversation that we don't see that much. It's a conversation that doesn't happen that much. And you touch that very well by specifying that it's not just like a top uh, decision, it's also something that should be in the recruitment requirements. So I find it very, very interesting to hear that from you, especially someone that wants to manage big teams. So
Sure,
it's
no, I mean, they have to make an effort. I'm not saying that you need to recruit, I don't know, someone. Uh, in that case, you mentioned that the person wanted to recruit a woman. Um, I'm not saying that you have to do it for the sake of doing it, but you have to do it so you can uh, enrich your team and therefore your organization. So, of course, if you have two candidates, let's say that you wanted to recruit a woman, and there is another guy, and it's clear that one is way better than the other, then it doesn't make sense to me that you would recruit the one that is less adequate for the job. But if you are actually, as you said, very deliberate about diversity, then before even the selection, I mean, for the selection, before even having two people uh, between whom you have to choose, you should be able to get talented people with different background, so you can choose and reflect the criteria in the selection process. I mean, it's possible to do it. Maybe it does not always work 100% of the time, but if they want to live up to the diversity value, it's possible to do it. At least to do it way better than is being done.
I think it's very interesting that you also mentioned that it's also an advantage for the business itself, because having like different experiences, backgrounds, all together, thinking about the purpose of the or the goal of the company can be very much beneficial for the company itself or for the goal that they are working in, because it's different people with like experiences, backgrounds, ideas, skills that
Hmm.
can bring a completely different output, but a good one. So it's also a management interest, right?
Mhm. It is. It is a management interest and organizational interest that can be reflected in the human resources, and that the human rights resources should apply when they are trying to recruit people. It's possible, because sometimes then people confuse with, oh, you want to uh, you recruit people just because they have a certain color, or just because they are women, or just because they are a specific sexual orientation. And I think that's not the point. At least in my case, I'm not recruiting just to tick a box. Um, I just believe that we can find talent with diverse background, regardless of their gender, race, uh, economic background, that they can bring something, as long as they can reasonably fit the position. Of course, if they don't, then yeah, that I get the point. But I'm sure that if they make an effort, they can be more diverse than they are today. That's for sure.
And it's good to hear that. And it kind of touches the, the question that I had,
Hmm.
that I wanted also to ask, that it's the meaning of diversity to you. So
Hmm.
what does that mean in a company or in an organization? But I think in a way you kind of reflected that already in a very
Yes.
spontaneous way. Yeah.
Yeah, it's not just color, not your color of your skin, but your gender, your sexual orientation, your political belief, your it could be anything. Of course, your economic background, your career path, because sometimes you would look for someone with specific career path. And I'm not saying it doesn't make sense, but maybe you don't realize that if you look at some people with transferable skills, they can do a pretty good job and bring you another perspective. So I think it's just that companies need to make more effort in terms of diversity, and not simply hear, or you want to put more women, or you want to put more black or brown people. That's not exactly the point. The point is to be more diverse, and not just to have, let me to caricature a little bit, not to have just all white male 50-year-old all engineer for a specific company. I mean, that's not diversity. It's just that it's homogeneity. But I don't think it brings value over the long term than if you seek to try to diversify a bit.
And how would that reflect in terms of inclusion? Because we know that, or At least I think everyone knows a situation in which we have diversity in a company or in an organization, and that diversity, it's not treated in an equal way, is not treated in an inclusive way. So how would be for you to work or to see the diversity included in the workplace?
Hmm. It is true that even though you may have diversity, you still may have groups of people, so no inclusion, if that's what you meant. Uh,
Yeah.
then I would say it's the way also you you create teams. The goal is not to create teams that are homogeneous, but to create teams that could work together and build on each other. So not having the same profile, the same kind of person with the same characteristic, but actually to try to see how you can bring different people together to create a better team. And maybe that's the collaboration value that speaks. But I strongly believe that if you make an effort to build a team within an organization with different people, you can go further than simply trying to look for people that are homogeneous. I mean, but I would deliberately try to create teams of different people, as long as, of course, it makes sense for the company. But I would not just hire people with a diverse background, not only with the diverse background, but I would actively try to create teams that so people can feel included. Because in a team, if a team functions well, they supposed to work together. So there is uh, ideally a natural inclination to inclusion. That's at least that's how I would decide if I have all the power in an organization.
And I think that your management inclination speaks a lot on that, because not only I know that you are someone that it's very involved with the causes that you believe in, but I can see that you don't let those emotions, if I can say it in that way, speak more than the rational part and the more management and the goal oriented side of yourself, because you always put it in the okay, what is the best for the business. And you can see that having inclusive teams can be beneficial for the main goal of your project, of your organization, of your team. And I think that it's a brilliant way to combine not only the causes that we believe in, our beliefs itself, but also the goals of an organization and make it work in a better way. So I like that. Thank you.
Oh, exactly. Inclusive collaboration, it's a process to make to reach the objective of the organization. It's not an end goal in itself to get to be inclusive. It's a process by which you can go further with a group of people. And I think if people get that and try to include that, they can they can get value out of it.
Great to hear that. And I know that you have things to do, so I won't keep you here for longer. But the conversation is being good. I'm enjoying it, and I'm also enjoying to get to know this more professional side of yourself. Because, as I said, even though we did work together, we didn't have the time to actually talk about those things. So it's been very nice for me. But before letting you go, there are two questions that I always like to ask in order to close the conversation. And one of those are, what truths do you feel that weren't told to you about the workplace?
Oh, maybe I can start with the one that I knew and that my father had told me. The one that I knew was that when you grow up, you believe that people will let some of the childish dynamics you can find when you are in school. But no, sometimes it is exactly like you were in high school. It's you have immature, childish games people play. That's something that I knew that my father had told me that be aware. When you grow up, actually, people still play games as if you were in high school. But what I didn't know is I'm still amazed about how some people are driven by misplaced ego or complacency rather than trying to contribute meaningfully and effectively to producing results, to the organization. And by producing results, I mean achieving objective, not just something very mechanical, but just producing results that are meaningful for the organization and more broadly for the society, for the country you live in, and maybe even beyond your country for the world. So that's something that I'm very much disappointed by. That it's too much ego, uh, and not even the good kind of ego that I'm trying to get beyond my capacity and to contribute to my organization is no. I'm mostly in for myself, and it doesn't matter if it creates problem for colleagues or the organization itself. So that's something that I'm very surprised about.
Yeah, I completely understand what you say. Uh, I never had a guest giving that answer, but I caught myself thinking about that and saying it out loud, like high school never ends.
Exactly. No, it's sometimes it's ridiculous. You like, I mean, but I knew that from my father, so I was not surprised. I was just surprised by the other stuff. But no, it's something that yeah, I don't know why he told me that. Yeah, he just told me, yeah, you complain about. Yeah, I was complaining about high school, and he was like, yeah, unfortunately, when you grow up, sometimes it's exactly the same thing, but it's worse because then people can be more vicious, and it can be uh, more disastrous because when you are high school, it's high school stuff, but in the professional life, it can be more vicious and terrible.
Yeah, unfortunately, but I think it's a great answer. And after this great conversation, I'm pretty sure that people that are listening and that don't know you yet might be curious to get in touch with you, especially because you're being so open, talking about so many topics. And I imagine if they are going through the same, or if they want to get more information and yeah, or just talk to you, how and where can they find you?
Well, I guess the easiest way to reach me would be on LinkedIn. My name and my family name, Sylvain Mossou. But of course, if they and then through that, if they want to chat even more easily, then I can provide them with my WhatsApp number. So, but definitely LinkedIn, WhatsApp, and then email would be the best way to reach me because Facebook, I'm way slower on Facebook than everywhere. So
Thank you, Sylvain. This was
well,
great
it was nice
and
talking to you, Sophia.
it was really a
And it would be
pleasure.
even better to see you in Lisbon once because it's a city that I very much enjoy, and even that my partner very much love. It's one of the city that she loves the most. So I'm sure that you will see me at least soon. And of course, if you come to Brussels, do not hesitate.
So I will wait for you here in Lisbon, for you and for your family. I'm looking forward to meet your baby boy. So yes. And yes, we will see each other soon, physically speaking. Yeah.
But thank you,
Thank,
Sophia, for the great conversation.
thank you. Thank you for listening to another episode of Color at Work. If you like this podcast, make sure to subscribe, rate it, and leave a review. Until next time.